Welcome to Mobile Rolling. After the break, it'll be my pleasure to be talking to an entrepreneur, a farrier, a blacksmith, a trainer, a driver, a committee man, a president, and a lobbyist, and also a developer. Welcome to Mobile Rolling. It's my pleasure to be talking to Peter Marshall. Peter, welcome to Mobile Rolling.
Thanks very much, Gary, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I must, before we start, congratulate you guys for putting these shows together, because the response I get from some of my so-called old friends in the business has been terrific.
Thanks for that. As Max and his team say, we're here to preserve history. There's a lot of people that we've unfortunately missed that have passed away that we'd love to have on tape, and there's still a few that we'd like to get, which they don't think they're worthy of. But as I said, we're preserving history, and the feedback we get is that the people wanting to hear about the good old days.
Yeah.
So I know we don't want to use the word old with you, Peter. Elder statesman's far too old, so we'll say distinguished gentleman. Where were you born? What year? Give us a bit of an idea of what you did as a youngster.
Yeah, I was born
I
was born at North Adelaide, 1949. Lived in our early years at Darlington in the Housing Trust, which a lot of people did in those days. Of course, that was the first.
Still do now, Peter.
Still do now, yeah. First port of call, and lived with my dad, who was a great horse person himself. And always been with horses when I was a little boy at his stables at Somerton Park.
So, where'd you go to school? Did you go to school in Darlington or somewhere around that area?
I went to school at Stella Maris, and where the old nuns tried to keep us all into line. But I don't know
Is
if
that
they've
school
achieved
still
it.
go or not? Or was that being closed down after you left?
Probably closed down.
Closed down. So, what was your schooling? I can't see you. I don't think you would have been a university person. So, when did you go to? What year did you leave school, and how, why, where, and what?
Well, I'll be perfectly honest. I hated school, and I used to go to Mondays.
Dislike greatly, Peter.
Just Mondays and Fridays, sheet metal work day and woodwork day Fridays. Mm-hmm. I was 13. I only didn't go through first year at Mitchell Park Tech, and got an honorary exemption from school. I put in to leave because I was helping my father shoeing horses.
Honorary exemption.
Honorary exemption. Could you believe that?
And how long did that take for them to sign that off, Peter?
Well, I had to go around to every teacher, and unfortunately for me, for a friend I knew, but his dad was very aged, the only reason they gave it, his name was David Marshall, mine Peter David Marshall, and his father passed away, and they thought my dad passed away,
so they
gave me a kick so I could help, bring the food home.
I mean, that was normal in that era for boys and that to finish early,
absolutely,
especially in the horse industry. So your father at that stage, was he training horses? What was he doing? Was he working?
He was at that stage. He was a farrier. He went with a very good blacksmith, as you say, farrier, because we used to make all our shoes in the early days with a great man called Bert Armstrong from around the Bay area. And Dad set up shop. His first blacksmith shop, if you like, was in the box at Somerton, where he used a vacuum cleaner as a blower and a 44-gallon drum as his forge.
So what year are we talking here? The 60s?
Oh, yeah, about the 1962, something like that.
This is 62. The day for those that always talk about putting a set of alleys on, that it was just still those days, wasn't it?
Oh, look, that's a very good question, Gary. You obviously know your horses a bit, mate, because it's interesting you say about the aluminiums. The steel in our day, when we were shoeing a lot of gallopers, we used to have to change the steel shoes off of a Saturday morning, put the aluminium plates on. On the next Sunday, we used to take the aluminium plates off and put their working shoes back on. And of course, now the perfection of aluminium plates, they use them on paces, and the gallopers, they leave them on all the time.
So how just for those, which we're all going to learn something here, when did the aluminium shoes come in? Because obviously, you know, we're talking 1900s, there was no aluminium shoes, was there?
Oh, no.
When were they first in? Did you see the introduction of them?
Oh, no, they were certainly in when I started shoeing. You know, they were in for many years, the aluminium plates. So gallopers used them. But the other thing they used, I shot horses for a great trainer called Graham Higney, had Tobin Bronze and Rain Lover. In the early, he won an Adelaide Cup with Rain Lover, and Mick Robins, who I ended up shoeing for, had Rain Lover, won 2 Melbourne Cups. But we used to use tips, and people might know they were like a half a shoe, and they were very light steel. We used to hand make them. They used to just fit around the toe of the horse, and nothing else was bare. And it was a cheaper way for the owners they didn't have to buy plates. So that was a method, but certainly, like when we shot for Bart Cummings, he had all aluminium plates. He was an aluminium plate man.
So just on the fact that you're a farrier or a blacksmith, as I like, they're one up from a farrier, in my opinion. But you, what age you had an apprenticeship? One of the few that did, didn't you? That you wouldn't be able to get one of those these days, would you?
No, well, you can through TAFE, which I'm very pleased how the industry's evolved given young people the opportunity. But in my day, it was difficult. They were all master farriers, they called themselves, and I got an apprenticeship through my father, and I was the only registered apprentice in South Australia with the South Australian Jockey Club and the old South Australian Trotting Club, because one gave Dad $3, I think the Jockey Club and the Trotting Club give Dad $2 a month to compensate my wages. $5. So that's what I was worth them days.
So that story out there that was paid for by St. Mara School to make sure you didn't come back was the fallacy, Peter. That wasn't
no, that wasn't true.
It was
definitely. Yeah.
So in for that $5, did you have to shoe any horses for the Jockey Club or the South Australian Harness Racing Club, or that was just to help you along the way?
Well, to help me along the way, but in later years, when we were very fortunate in the 60s to have some very good paces. We got them over from Victoria through my Uncle Gordon Stevens. They were good horses, Dale Jr., K-Dale, Fair. You know, we had a lot of nice horses. And my dad and I were farriers at Wavell also. And when I was a young bloke, we had to be on course.
So how old were you then, 18, 19, something like that?
Yeah, something like that, and about 18.
Were you driving then, or were you dad?
Oh, I never got a lot of drives because it was very hard, but my funny thing, my first drive I had was a very good mare, K-Dale, from 12 yards behind.
Which is at
Wavell, in a permit rangelands race. We didn't get a lot of drives them days. I used to have about 3 or 4. And I'll never forget, I ran third on her and coming back in those days, crowd everywhere. And I used to drive under P. Marshall Jr. and I had a big head. I thought, how good's this? I ran third, my first drive. Coming off this track, this fella sung out and he said, P. Marshall Jr., all right, you want to have an L plate on your back, you bludger. So he's certainly taught me. He picked my skill up pretty
He's obviously
quick.
had a bet and not got his money. So when did you start training and driving in your own right?
Oh, in the 80s, probably.
So that stage then you never had another job other than...
I know, we got too busy. Like Dad, we had some nice horses and we gave away a horse called R2, who you might remember, Fred Jeffries. Dad gave him away for a set of false teeth, that's true. And Dad come up to me and he said, now look, we've got to give them away because we just got Cummins. I was probably about 22, 21.
So you're single still, not married?
Married at 22, my wife Raylene, and got a daughter Alana, which we've had a good, successful time. We're 50 years married this year. But the point being that we got all these big stables to shoe for, and Dad said, look, and it was really shattered me because I loved the horses. We had Junior's return went to my cousin Trevor Kelly, was a good horse. Zorba went to Georgia Smith, who John Riggs owned, who of course, galloping trainer. And we just got out of it like that, but we had to.
But then you got back into it, didn't you?
Yeah, I got in a hobby way because for 10 or 15 years, we were just...
So where were you training when you got back into it as a hobby?
Mainly at Sturt Marion, the old Sturt Marion track, which my dad and grandfather, Les Marshall, started... really designed the track around the oval and with a fellow called Tom Early.
Before, was your dad training out of there?
Yeah, Dad did train at and Weagle Oval.
So
did
you
in
went
the
to
60s.
Weagle. So, I mean, you still got a horse with a connection with Weagle with Chris Laird, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, no, I enjoy that. I enjoy it.
It's so sad that lasted 99 years, basically, and then...
It's a beautiful place. We were lucky. We just lived up the road. In fact, Keithy Bennett's place. You interviewed John Lee the other day. Keith bought that place, but that place we actually leased before Keith Bennett bought it.
Oh, okay.
And that's where our horses were in the 60s. So we only just went up the road. And, of course, great trainers, you know, you've heard them all.
Yeah, well, share the
Shins and Red. I can remember going to trials and driving at the trials when we had 8 to 10 trials every Sunday.
Oh,
and it was just...
I remember having 8 to 10 trials at Port Pirie.
Yeah, well, that's...
I can remember 17 trials at Globe
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
So, what was your first... Do you remember your first winner?
I reckon my first winner... Look, I don't want to put my hand on the Bible because the old nuns might be watching.
Gary, I think they might be up top now. I reckon they might be a bit older than us.
My first one was a little mare called Bo Strata was one of them, and Bon High.
Bonadius.
Both by Bonadius, because I ended up shoeing Tiger Browns and Lance Brown, and they had Bonadius. He wasn't a major shy, but to be perfectly honest, it suited me because I was still shoeing, and winter time wasn't a go. Didn't have the time, and I was very fortunate, lucky. I won a few races around Victor and Murray Bridge, and
well, the old Victor's gone, Murray Bridge is gone. Places like Barmer are gone.
A couple of the boys used to call me Father Christmas around Victor Harbour because I was lucky and won a few races there.
Did they ever sing out "Holler for a Marshal"? Or was
that's a common thing we used to get, but I used to get. Really hollered at a little bit stronger for probably not driving one so good.
So a lot of people don't know that you and your father and you especially later not only shod some great paces and trotters, but you also were mainly into the gallopers. So I'm sure people would like to know. I know there was a golden year there when 1981 or 91 when you did.
Well, 19.
Was it 81 where you shod some really good gallopers and Gamelite and all of those as well?
You're pretty clever on your research, mate. But look, in 1981, and let me say, it wasn't my shoeing. It was just lucky that I was shoeing these champion horses and champion trainers.
Yeah, well, I've got to disagree with that because if I've got a champion trainer, I'm not going to get a dud to put the shoes on and lose a race, am I? So you've got to take some kudos out of that and the fact that you can be, and so, you know, I'm going to be modest. But at the end of the day, all of those horses, whether it be the Gallopers or the Gamelites or the Just Too Goods or whatever they may be, they're not going to give you the horse to shoe if the owner or whoever is says, well, what's happened to him? Oh, no, he's hit his knee because he shot him wrong. So, go on.
Thanks.
We'll go on for that.
But 1981, it was one of those freak years. In fact, not far from this beautiful property that you own, a trainer down the road, Graham Higney, at the place. And in 1981, because these trainers had come across and stay at these stables and the farrier shot them. But I shot for Tommy Smith for many years when he come over, start with Igloo. But in 1981, Just a Dash won the Adelaide and Melbourne Cup. And, of course, I was shoeing for the Sugarses and Lenny. And a great mare, Murdoch Miss, won the 1981 SA Pacing Cup, driven by Rossi. And then I'd shod the woman down the road. She had a show jumper of the year, the Royal Show, and the Brueggemanns had the show horse, and the Brueggemanns had the show. So that year was a special year. For me, I've always remembered that year.
What's some of the gallopers that you've shod?
Well, look, I've got to be honest.
Tommy Smith or the Hawk?
Oh,
you had a relationship with the Hawk?
Yeah, he had some great horses. Well, I shot Ocky when he come over for the Gallop here, when he went down the straight at Moorfield. John brought him over and he wanted him plated. But Johnny had some great horses. He started training here, and obviously Ross Sugars, and it's always been a family sort of thing, and we were very close friends. And I'm not putting these two together, but because there are other great people you meet. But I talk about the Sugarses and the Hawkses because they've evolved. They left Adelaide, both of them better themselves in the bigger markets in Victoria and the eastern states. And, of course, Johnny's evolved into a great trainer with his boys, Michael and Wayne. And, of course, Rossi's evolved in a great harness trainer through his children, Greg and Kylie. So those family traditions have moved on and been successful.
Yeah, I think a lot of people always say, they leave here for whatever reasons, but it doesn't make any difference. If for argument's sake, David Tiller was playing for the Risdon Football Club in Port Pirie, he came and played for North Adelaide because he wanted to go to the next level. No difference than Mark Bickley that came down. So it's the same progression with harness racing. If you've got one of the best here and he can't. There's no more bridges to cross. He's got to go to the big league, and the gallopers especially. I mean, Hayes and Cummins and Hawks, and it goes on and on and on. They're everywhere, you know.
Well, you're so true, and look,
and even the jockeys. There's millions.
Look. I think I've always taken this view. We inward think a little bit in South Australia for something, and Australia, because I was only looking at a show in America. This big trainer, Clark, I think his name. You know, now he's got stables, about 5 or 6 barns all around America. And I was talking to you earlier. You've got a nice horse racing up in Sydney at the moment. Well, obviously the better money's there. You can always bring them back, but it's not far to travel. Your horse, if you've got a good horse. Well, there's nothing wrong with grooming them in South Australia, but you've got to move them on.
I think it's a good breeding ground for horses, people.
Yeah, it is. Oh, you've only got to look at the road years.
You had a long history with the South Australian Harness Racing Club and the board, so we won't go into the ins and outs of that. But you served the industry on a long basis. We don't want to be too controversial, but obviously you may have left it in a better state than it is now. I think probably you're one of the few people that would have realised that to privatise was probably not the right decision. Would you be agreeing with that? Well, the government really don't want to, like, Harness Racing SA is a registered company, and there is no real reason for the government to be putting money into that company. Would that be fair and reasonable?
You're right. Like, one of the sad things was, I believe, was when we cut the umbilical cord of the government. And of course, yeah, arguably now, but I read back in some old papers when I was lucky to form the Racing Codes Action Group. And there's only people I knew. We all had one thing to get a better deal off the TAB. But with the state our size and of our volume of turnover, it was a tragedy to sell our TAB, in my view, because we were getting 52%. Well,
I think that's the view of probably most people, and you can see the result.
We're small.
The result now is that we're probably operating with probably 40% of the income that we would have got if we hadn't sold it. So therefore it's and as we aren't big enough and the returns aren't big enough, consequently there's an issue there. But
look, it's still I've always said it's still a beautiful sport. And I encourage young people. It's a beautiful animal. The standardbred's the best of them to handle. I still believe it's the best sport to watch out of the 3 codes. It's still a lovely sport, so I encourage people to get
without a doubt.
You know, it's a great sport.
I got 14 of them, so I know what it's like.
Yeah.
So what? Some of the best paces that you've said you did Murdoch Miss, and what was others that you actually can remember, or just?
I must admit, I took it before, if you don't mind, because it's not me, but the viewers might be interested to know some of these horses. Well, in the thoroughbreds, if you like, I was very lucky. You know, let me say, Rain Lover, beautiful old horse. Rain Lover's great dam, Rain Bird, my dad took her to Sydney as an apprentice jockey for the Sydney Cup. So there was a connection there. And of course, I'm very proud of Dad. Don't say it to his face. But I can't believe anybody that's rode winners at Morphettville and drove winners at Wavell. And Dad did that. But Rain Lover, Think Big, of course, Rain Lover won 2 Melbourne Cups. Think Big won 2 Melbourne Cups. Old Gold and Black was a favourite of mine. Mad Bay supporter, I haven't got one show. I give one to good mate of Max's, Dougie Webber, who come with me with Trotters years ago. And mates, I never kept the shoe, used to throw them in the bin. Because, you know, and then Just a Dash.
We would have had a ball on eBay.
Oh, you would have had a ball. Going the way you sell, you would have had a ball. But
Chris we would have had.
Yeah, Murdoch Miss, Gamelite, the great Gamelite. I mean, I was lucky with old Leo O'Connor. I'll tell you a story. I've got the shoe home. Couldn't find it. I was going to show you. And I said to Leo...
Put that on eBay.
If I can have a shoe off of that old...
It's $5.
And you know what he said? Well... He was a bit reluctant because he was a devout Catholic and he used to give them to the Catholic school to raise money. Because, as you know, Gamelite was the first pacing horse, excluding the great horse Cardigan Bay, who earned over $1 million in America when he earned over $1 million. But, you know, then the great old Thorate. I was showing down at Johnny Bashara's. I did all grinds and then our Savants a lot. So I was very lucky. You know, I just shot for great trainers. Drivers, you know, and they were great horsemen, and I was lucky enough to shoe these beautiful animals, you know.
So, so the industry isn't what it used to be, but we know that it's passion that people, you know, like as I say to people though, it doesn't matter whether you play tennis or cricket or you collect stamps, it's going to cost you money. And if once you got the horses in your blood, very hard to get it out of.
Look,
very difficult.
Gary, you've served on the board and I've served on the board, and the thing what we try to do is you try to give the industry participants what they need. You'll never be able to give them what they want.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
There's not the generation of turnover, but I still believe, and I stay in the background, but I have connections, government, you have your discussions, but they've got to get a balance. I like the one body, you've got to have representative of the industry, but you've got to have people that understand the business.
That's been discussed for the last... But the 20 years and it's still not there.
You must have people understand, because the only industry, I mean, could you imagine Packer getting someone when he started to run his newspaper that come from a milk bar? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Have your balance, have your independence, but it doesn't work the way the boards are set up at the moment, and that's no reflection on the individual.
And everyone's been trying to get that that one goal at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I suppose in finishing, Marshall is the French for what does that stand for?
Well, you're good on. It's a Marshall's a word, a French meaning one who tends horses. So
you're always going to be a horse
always
person.
Going to be a horse person. But look, can I just say that I don't want to go over the top, but when you reflect back at 72 years of age, and Dad's still alive at 93, we've got 3 pets, Old Impressive, Jack, Fully Best. They won a few, and we just love them. Put them in and out, and another mare, Holly, we nicknamed, just a pet. But we get up every morning. And to be involved with horses has been nothing better. I mean, I've been involved in another industry.
All your life, yeah.
But all my life I've done nothing else, basically. And look, I've been rewarded. You can't buy.
Thank God you put the else on the end there, Peter, when you said, all my life I've done nothing else. No, look, everybody knows Peter Marshall. You've been around in all spheres, and you've served the industry well. I'm not going to end on a sad note, but it must be pointed out that people like you that have given your heart and soul from the age of 14. So it's not like you've just had an interest in a horse. We all want to see it flourish, and we all want, like, I've got 3 children. None of them are interested in harness racing at all. They've all got a horse named after them, and they'll go pretty good, but then they're not going to have a horse of themselves, which is sad. So it's blokes of my age and older like yourself that have seen the golden days.
Yeah.
And until people realise we're not going to get back to that, and that we've seen the best of it, but we've got to make the best of what we're going to see in the future. And you can.
Look, there's things we just need to do and realise you must change and evolve as the situation demands.
Well, otherwise you're going to end up like Kodak, right?
Exactly.
Kodak, everyone had a Kodak camera and Kodak films. Where are they now?
But I think people, look, I've, like yourself, we've all had, how can I say, difference of opinion, passion. But people, I'm not just saying because you're interviewing me, but I ran into Bronte Giorgio. The other money, Bronte and I, we've had our disagreements, but he's got the same direction. And I reckon if I talked to you, you'd have a similar direction and passion. And I still think if you can I might be a dinosaur, I guess, but if we can just get that younger group through to say, well, look, this is our industry. This is what we're faced with. We've got to change. Like, I believe wouldn't be popular Saturday nights, I think is a real question mark, because we're just challenging too many. I'd have very few Saturday nights, perhaps a few cup meetings. I try to aim Sundays, and it's certainly night time during the week to help our hobbyists, because it's mainly hobby trainers.
I think one thing you just brought up there, which I've always said, whether they agree with Bronte Giorgio or they agree with Peter Marshall or they agree with Max Beasley or they agree with Gary Crocker, it doesn't matter. The problem is, as long as they respect their views, and that's one of the issues we have.
Exactly.
It's because they don't agree with Peter, he's wrong. No, that's wrong. They should respect his view and then try to work out how you're going to get to a common point. And that's one of the issues that we have in this industry, in my opinion. But
well, look, it'll never happen, but I mean, probably make you shudder, but if I had any say, I wouldn't have a national handicapping system. It never works in South Australia, never will. I'd go back to our 2 for 1. I'd have a split season where in the winter time I'd race for less with the handicapping system that keeps the horses in work, and then the summer season outside I thought you race for more. And there are so many things you could do.
But if they're not addressed, eventually
we're just
we will
gonna-
only have one meeting a week, and we'll be running.
Exactly.
We'll be running for a pasty and a pie and a ribbon.
exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, Peter, thank you so much. We could have been here for hours, but we can't. Maxie's given me the wind up already. So thanks for your time, and I'm sure that everyone out there will appreciate you spending some time mobile rolling.
Thank you very much, Gary, and I appreciate the time, giving me the opportunity to be on your show. And people out there, don't be frightened to get a horse. There's nothing better.
Thanks, Pete.